The US dollar has had quite a run-up in recent history. In the past few months, however, things have certainly changed. All of the boost from the so-called Trump trade has been lost. The US dollar is generally seen as the safe haven in this topsy-turvy world, all because of the lack of options. The belief is that the US dollar, although terrible, will outlast other currencies, and that keeps it relatively strong. You came here for the truth. Let's talk about the US dollar today. I want to talk about the stock market. I want to talk about China as well. What is this indicator that I'm referring to? Let's get into that in a moment. Beginning with the CNBC article. The dollar index fell to its lowest level since mid-November as it weakened from a high of 100 to 99 against the basket of currencies. Once again, I'd like to interject the fact that when we talk about the dollar, when we talk about any currency, we are measuring this against other currencies. We are measuring it against something else that's fluctuating on its own. It's not a steady line being measured against. So if everything is falling in relation to something else, Mike Maloney does this a lot, and I believe Richard Duncan's book did it too. But what we see is a comparison. If you measure the Dow Jones in wheat, or you measure the S&P in gold, and you do that over the years, you get this completely different picture. But just because we measure it in US dollars or a particular currency, all of a sudden we have a particular image of how well this particular thing is doing. And I think it really gives us a lot of perspective to see how things change over the years when you measure it in something else. The dollar, for example, is quite fascinating. Right now, the dollar has been pretty much wiped out all of the gains that were made on the back of this Trump euphoria-related trade. I don't want to call it a Trump reflation trade because I think the reflation trade has started before Trump was actually elected. He goes on. I don't necessarily agree with everything these people say. I'm just bringing you the information. Okay, let's move on just quickly. There's a lot I want to get to. Still on the topic of the dollar here. The dollar fell to its lowest since November against the basket of currencies as investors lost confidence in the prospects of the U.S. fiscal spending boost under Trump after his failure on the so-called Obamacare. Now, this is something that isn't over yet, just so we're clear, the whole Obamacare repeal. In fact, I just saw that one individual is trying to put through a one-sentence bill. I don't know if you saw that. A one-sentence bill to repeal Obamacare. Let's see what happens with that. Trump's inability to deliver on his campaign pledge to overhaul the nation's healthcare marked a big setback. And it goes on. The dollar recovered broadly during North American trading, but remained down 0.45% on the day against the basket of currencies. It fell to as low as 98.8. Okay. Basically what they're saying is dollar's falling, the US is not looking strong, and the trade is going away from that into other assets, all because of Trump. They're just trying to sort of point the finger at him. I think that's a little silly, and I think that to have it rise on the expectation of Trump is silly as well. There should be actual hard data. We need hard data in order to move things, in order to put real investment in. But of course, that's just not the case. Now, this is it. This is the key indicator. Traders, algorithms, they're all looking for these key indicators, one of which is the 200-day moving average. Very important indicator for those who look at the technicals. It's been hard for analysts to disentangle Trump trades from those stemming from reflation, and solid global economic indicators suggest some basis for bond yields and stock values above the lows of 2016. Alarm bells can be heard in the markets as well. So just around the beginning of the new year, we have had significant declines. And you will see right here very important that it breached the barrier of the 200-day moving average. And that, I believe, is very important because there are always either trader patterns that they're being looked at, or they are looking, the computer algorithms are looking into them as well, not necessarily humans. So keep an eye on the dollar. I think it's something that we should be looking at this time to see what happens. It could be just a short-term trend. It could, go the other way. But I always believe that when we cross these barriers, when we cross these different lines, we do see a change. So keep your eye on that. Chinese state firms have expressed an interest to develop land around the Panama Canal. Trade, obviously, very important. China expanding its trading partners, having, I think it was like 150 or whatever, whereas the US has more like 50. So we're talking about a significant difference. China is expanding. China is looking to get all of the partners that the US doesn't want to deal with. China is really digging in with. But in this case here, with Panama Canal obviously being so important to trade, and they want to have such control over it. Very, very intelligent, and there's no doubt that they are pursuing this. The Panama Canal Authority will officially open a tender to develop about 1,200 hectares of land, roughly the size of 1,200 football fields, around the waterway by the end of this year into a logistics park after completing a 5-year-long decontamination of the area. So they've been talking to a lot of people here in China, and they're seeing that they're building up this investment, they're building up the infrastructure, and that is happening with the investment through China. Is this the first time? Absolutely not. Look at this. I went back to 2016, just found one of these other articles, and of course that's always what I try to do. I try to bring you the historic element to it, if something that comes off the top of my head, or if I know in advance and I can bring up some articles or some newspapers or some historic information, whatever. I like to bring that to you so you have that context. Hope you appreciate that. China buys Panama's largest port. This was back about a year ago, and for more than 100 years, the Panama Canal has controlled the bulk of goods transferred between the Pacific and the Atlantic. For much of that history, this monumental feat was engineered under the control of the US, but is no longer the case. Panama's largest port was purchased by a Chinese company. So here you have it, an expansion of global trade, and it seems to be moving away from the US and moving into the hands of China. I just discussed this recently. This is just simply, it's more evidence. It's just more wood being put on the fire here that continues to just expand and expand. And I believe it's very clear what China is doing. 2 quick articles. Meet Sam, bricklaying robot that builds walls 6 times faster than a human could, put millions out of work. It's pretty obvious what is happening with robotics, with automation, how they are replacing jobs, whether we like it or not. Now, people who are building robots, unless it's another robot, that is a way to have new jobs being created. Okay, it's good for that. However, a lot of people who are bricklayers, who only have that one skill, are suddenly left without work. That's all I'm going to say for that. And then this drone that flies without a human pilot has been given permission to hit the skies of Israel in a world's first. So here we have the autonomous drones that are being allowed to be sent off. Doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you. We have autonomous drones that are being used all over the place in warfare. A lot of them aren't allowed to be mentioned, but we've seen them covered here on the channel before. Autonomous drones and everything's sort of going into this autonomous realm. And, it has its good things and it certainly has its bad. I'll leave it up to you. I just I want to bring that out. Every time I see something good like this, something important, I should say, then I definitely have to bring it to you. I hope you appreciate it. If you found this video informative, then please give me a thumbs up. Giving me thumbs up pushes these videos higher up on the YouTube search rankings. So I appreciate it every single time. And last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS and Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So you can actually look through the book. Just go over to Amazon where they have a look inside feature. It's going to allow you to flip through the pages of the books to see if you like them. Take care.